Okay, everybody, hello. We have a very special guest in our office today. Are you so excited, Mama Sue?
Oh my goodness, I've been looking forward to this for over a week, and she's precious.
I know. So this is
Aw.
Lauren Sisler, and for those of you who love football, we have a lot of people who follow us who love football.
Mm-hmm.
But, so Lauren, you are a reporter for ESPN, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mostly college football, covering football on the sidelines on game day. So you usually see me out there on Saturday. If you ask me where I'm going, I can't tell you until like 4 days before I get on a plane and head that way. So turn it out, baby.
Yes. And so we just have enjoyed having her in the office. We have been chit-chatting a little bit this morning, and then we were like, wait a minute, we've got to stop the well, we've got to start the camera because we've got some stuff to talk about. So she has come out with this wonderful book, and it's called Shatterproof. And Mama Sue and I have had the privilege of reading this book, and I could not put it down.
I couldn't either.
Right? It was so good.
I could not, and I didn't know who Lauren was.
Mhm.
But Harold, my husband, did because he's sports minded and he would see her on the sidelines.
Mm-hmm.
But this book,
We call Harold Coach, right?
Coach.
Coach.
And the thing about it is, I read this book in 2 days because I couldn't put it down. It's a story about a horrible event that happened to Lauren, and she'll have to tell you a little bit about it. But the book doesn't launch until October 1st, but you can pre-order it on Amazon right now. And I promise you, it is amazing that she could be my child, and I wish she was. But that she went through such a tragic thing in a matter of 5 hours. You want to tell them just a little bit?
Yeah. Will you tell us?
Well, so the foundation of the story, first and foremost, thank you for this opportunity to be here. I adore both of you, and just this opportunity to be here, spending some time and getting to collaborate on this and really just share with your audience and the people that love you all so much. I want to lean into that.
They're gonna love you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I think the biggest thing with the story, right, is, kind of setting the premise. Grew up in Roanoke, Virginia, was family always on the go, big sports family. And, we were always involved in athletics. I was a gymnast. I know we joked about it, Miss Annie over here. Like, I'm literally 5'9". You can't see it now, but you see my knees are like up to my chest right now. I'm a little tall. I'm a little tall to be a gymnast. But it was a dream of mine to earn a college scholarship. My parents were there every step of the way, invested so much time and money and just emotion into the sport, and backed me on it. And, I'm living out my dream at Rutgers, loving every minute of it. Yes, it was challenging. Yes, there were, things that popped up that were hard, heartaches, injuries, all the things. But, I had my parents there, every single day. And, unfortunately, as you mentioned, within 5 hours of each other, I get a phone call from my dad letting me know that my mom died. Get on the next plane you can. I'll be at the airport to pick you up. And that was in Roanoke, Virginia. So as you can imagine, 18-year-old, trying to figure out how I'm going to get on a plane, didn't have the money, didn't have the resources, didn't have a credit card, literally had maybe $50 in a bank account. Had to get a plane ticket. This was back before you could log online and get on an app. I'm on hold for 30 minutes, get a plane ticket, get home. And all I wanted to do was run and jump in my dad's arms. I knew he would make everything okay. And instead, my uncle and my cousin pulled up that day and had to tell me that my dad too passed away.
Are you willing to share with everybody right now? I'm just saying that because we have this book here, and so
Yeah.
I'm like, are we keeping it a surprise what the book is about, or do you want to share a
I
little
think
bit?
that's great. So really, just kind of digging into the story, right? Because as an 18-year-old, you get the news, mom dies. She's 45 years old. What happened? Dad can't explain it. Then my dad dies, 52 years old. What happened? And for years, I was running from the truth of what had happened to my parents because of the shame that I felt. And so for so many years, I ran and I ran and I ran because
And
I
you
felt
wanted to protect them.
wanted to protect them, wanted to protect their legacy. Because as I mentioned, my parents were everything to me. And I felt like they could do no wrong. They're the heroes. They're the ones that are supposed to be there through all of life's milestones, right? and that just evaporated. And so I did everything I could to protect their legacy, so much so that I would tell sugar-coated stories when people would ask, what happened to your parents? Mom died of respiratory failure, dad died of a heart attack, because that sounded so much better than my parents dying of overdose.
But you had no idea. I mean, prior to their death.
No idea. Both of my parents were going to a pain management doctor. They were seeking help for that chronic pain they were experiencing. And ultimately, within a 3 or 4 year period, the prescription drugs that they were being prescribed, it continued to progress, continued to escalate, and just a total tragic ending, because my parents, much like myself, I felt this shame, right? I couldn't speak up. I think my parents felt that same shame. They felt that shame that they were unable to speak up and say, we need help. And that just, it breaks my heart. But that's why I feel like it's so important that these words are in this book to give to other people as a gift of maybe permission to speak up, permission to own your story, permission to say, hey, I want to meet you where you're at, whatever shame it is you're feeling, whatever you're going through right now, because we all deal with it, whether it is addiction, infidelities, you're going through a life situation, you lost a job, you're trying to put food on the table, the finances are in disarray. Wherever that is, I want to meet you with that. And I think that, to me, is ultimately, my mantra in life has become fall in love with your story. So how do we fall in love with our story? And it takes time. It takes, it takes a lot of work and baby steps, right? But my encouragement to you is, to fall in love with your story. And I hope that this book and digging into the depths of it will help people to understand that it is okay. And this life is going to be challenging, but we all have the ability to fall in love with our story, every single chapter.
As you're reading it, it's so well written that you just hang on every word. And then I was telling Lauren, while I haven't had two parents that have passed away from opioid addiction, I just, all of us have felt shame. All of us have felt some level of grief. Like, I could identify with your story in some little parts of it. But then the other part of it is I've also had surgery, and I've also been given prescription drugs before. And so I think so many of us have had that experience. And I don't know, I never even thought about, like me, a middle-aged woman, that things could go south. And so as I was reading your book, I just realized, like, all of us have, we've all had prescription drugs prescribed to us. And that your parents never intended, like, they could have never seen this happening to them at all and would have never wanted it to have happened. But just that it's so powerful and prevalent in our society today, I felt like that was a really important part of your story. But then just being able to identify with, like, everyone has felt shame, people have been embarrassed, people don't want to tell their stories, and you bringing this out, it's like it's given everybody permission, whatever their story is, to share it, because it's important and it's powerful and it's your story. And I love your tagline, fall in love with your story. Because part of what you said too is, like, you don't fall in love with somebody overnight, typically, not real love, and so, like, it took you time to fall in love and to embrace your story. And I'm so glad you did. Because we're sitting here on this couch.
I know, we're sitting here right now. And that's what I want to encourage people too, right? So it has been 21 years, y'all, since my parents passed away. And you think, like, okay, healing and grief, it's not linear. And I think that's one thing I want to encourage people. While I've had the courage to, put this book out there, this has been years in the making, right? And I look back at just the amount of time it took me to get to this place, to have the confidence and the courage to share. And so, I think a lot of times we put this, like, timeline on life, right? Like, we got to get it done. We got to get it done here, 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 here. But at the end of the day, right, it is nonlinear, and it is a constant work in progress. And so I will say, even 21 years later, we started this about the 19-month mark, and our 19-year mark was when we started working on this book. And I look back at it and I think, like, how far I've come, even just since we started this process. And I say I do want to give a shout out to my dear friend Holland Webb. So he helped, I say, the wordsmith of all of this. So he really helped me to kind of craft this. So we just sat down and we would just go through the the different storylines, and he was so good at pulling some stuff out of me that I didn't even realize was like in there, like deep inside of me. And, you know, and then we would sit down and we would transcribe everything and we would start moving it around, puzzle pieces, whatever. And like you said, getting it to a place where it all makes sense. Because I'll tell you, in chaos, a lot of things in there don't make sense. And you just kind of rationalize, well, why didn't she do that? Or why didn't her auntie do this? Or, you know, my auntie Linda, another big part of all this, really helping me pick up the pieces. And that's my mom's sister. And
I
so
fell in love with her.
Oh,
I fell in love with her.
too.
And your uncle's name is
Uncle Mike.
Mike.
Yeah.
Oh, anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, my auntie, and that's why, you know, she's been a big part of all this. And, you know, it's just amazing because truly she helped me. And this is what I tell people. She helped me over the years, and we talk about that linear piece, helped me to realize that my parents aren't defined by how they died, but by how they live their lives. And now I have this opportunity to carry on their legacy, right?
Right.
You know, as much as I wanted it bound in my hands, not telling the truth wasn't really serving their legacy. So now what can I do with it in a positive way? And so I think really she was so instrumental in that. And also I was 18 years old. I didn't even know how to write a check, y'all. I was a baby.
She taught you to do that.
She taught me to write a check. She helped me open a bank account, helped me learn how to write checks, and you know, figure out this whole adulting thing. You know, because it's been a process.
But what I liked so much, she was guiding you along, but she didn't push you to accept it until you were ready.
Yes.
I remember reading when she picked up the toxology report, and it had been opened. She had read it, and she asked you if you wanted to read it, and you just put it in the floorboard of the car and didn't read it for several years, right?
Yep. It took me 10 years. 10 years. I was actually sitting at the Foundry in Bessemer, Alabama, where I started doing some mentoring for you know, women that are in recovery and trying to get their life back. And yeah, I literally, and the reason I would not read those toxicology reports, I could not put anything into words if it was on paper, right? So like, if I saw on paper that this is how my parents died, then I had to acknowledge it as fact, right? This is truth. Well, guess what? I was running with this sugar-coated story that I'd been telling for so long.
Yeah.
So, oh, by the way, if I don't acknowledge it on paper, then it can't be fact. And I could just keep running with these made up lies that I kept telling myself and other people, because that was protecting them, protecting me. And to your point, my auntie was very good about, she would try to insert, you know, truth.
Yeah.
And I would push back time and time and time again. And finally she was just like, all right, you know, like a little tough love here and there. But ultimately in a loving way, helped me to understand the truth and uncover some of the answers that now are obviously outlined in the book.
And I think it's so powerful, like in the end, how, you know, what would you call him? Sergeant or deputy?
Deputy Thwaites.
Thwaites.
Yes. Eric, it's Thwaites, yeah. Eric Thwaites is how you say it. Thwaites,
okay,
yeah.
Thwaites. And how it starts out, the book kind of starts out that way, and then the fascinating way that it ends.
Yes.
Yeah.
You have to
It's
order
such a
this
God
book.
wink. It's so powerful all the way through.
Oh,
Everyone is
yeah,
gonna
I
just,
know.
it's kind of like, it's such a true story, and you're kind of on the edge of your seat all the way through. It's so beautifully written.
And I love the God wink part of it, because I want you all to know that that is such a big piece of this too, right? Leaning into faith in all of this and meeting people where they're at, wherever they're at in their faith journey, right? And whatever their belief system is. I just want you all to know, like, you know, I use footprints in the sand because it was then that I carried you. And for so long, I literally was leaning away from God. I never quit believing in him. I never quit, you know, because we grew up going to church, and we grew up, you know, in the church, and, you know, singing the praises and worship, and, you know, saying our prayers. And my parents tucked me in every single night, and we said our prayers, and they always said, through faith and determination, all things are possible. And literally, I felt like in my darkest days, instead of leaning in, I was leaning out. But what I realized through that, and this is what I love telling people, God never promises to deliver us from hardships. He promises to deliver us through hardships.
That
Amen.
is so right.
Amen.
And so I just think, you know, I'm so thankful that I had him, you know, carry me along the way, in such a great support system with my Rutgers gymnastics team, and just everyone that was there for me, and my family and friends and support group.
So, Lauren, you are going to be appearing on Good Morning America. Can you tell us when and what that looks like?
Yes, so Good Morning America is coming. I'm so excited. So we're locked in for October 1st is launch day. So very excited to have the opportunity to, be on Good Morning America, sharing my story and talking with them. So this will be GMA 3, it's the 3rd hour. So super excited to join them and just have this conversation and, to spread the good word, right? That, I want to encourage people again to fall in love with their story. And how do we do that, right? So, that'll be on October 1st, which is Tuesday. So y'all, we're coming up on it quick.
Quick.
Are you nervous?
No.
So I will say this, you build up to this moment, right? Because we were supposed to release this book like last year around the same time. I had a baby. I went back to work like 6 weeks after I had my baby, little man Mason. And I literally was like, I can't do this. I'm trying to survive here, y'all. Like survival right now.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it was like, okay, let's be realistic about this. And why don't we just pump the brakes a minute? Like this story's not going anywhere. If anything, it's continuing to be written. And so it just was on my heart to kind of wait and wait till I was positioned and felt really, truly immersed in it and ready. And I think the biggest thing, you ask if I'm nervous, Angela, I think the biggest thing for me is being where my feet are. And that's something I talk about in this book.
Yes.
Because it's so easy to get caught up in the glitz and the glamour and the lights and let me, be on this show and be here and promoting and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. At the end of the day, like this book is going to land wherever it needs to. God is going to place this in someone's hand, whether it's one person, 10 people, 100 people that need to hear it, need to read it, that are somewhere in their life where they pick that up and they say, like I needed this today. Mm-hmm. And so that is my hope for this. And that's not just, launch week. Great. October 1st. I'm so excited. I cannot wait. Yes, I'm nervous. I'm anxious. I'm all the things. Like, I feel like I'm running 1,000,000 miles a minute and I'm trying to catch my breath. In the midst of football season, y'all, I'm still covering football here and I got to know everything there is to know about every team on the planet. Like it's a lot.
But you got it.
Yeah.
You can do hard things.
I got it. And so I got to be where my feet are, right?
And while you're doing hard things, you be salt and light.
Yes, exactly. I love that.
That's right.
Yes. Yes.
So, well, we are super excited for you, and we are. I'm so thrilled to have met you. Aren't you, Mama Sue?
Oh my goodness, yes.
After reading this book, I could not sleep last night. Just like thinking that I was going to meet you today.
Yes.
Seriously.
That makes me so happy. And I thank you all so much for your love and support. I feel like besties over here now. This is only the beginning of, I think great things to come. And I thank you all for your love and support and just all the love that you give in your endeavors, everything that you do. Like you bring such a light to this world. And I know that's why people love and follow you. And, we all have a purpose in life, right?
Absolutely.
And I think when we find our calling, we're able to give back and find great joy in that. And I'm just grateful.
Thank you for being here.
We're thrilled to have you here.
And we're going to link your book on the post so that people can order it. They can pre-order and then they'll start shipping on the 1st. Is that how it works?
Shipping on the 1st. There's a hardcover available at this point. Also the audiobook, which I narrated myself. So you can also check that out. We'll also have the ebook available, and then down the road we'll have the paperbacks available. But for now, those will be the 3 things, and it'll be on Amazon. So go check it out, and thank you so much for your support. If you can, drop a review. Would love to get your feedback, and please hit me up. I want to hear your story, right? So if you've got a story you want to share, something that touched you or is meaningful for you, or something you just have a question about, hit me up. My DMs are open, y'all. I'm here to help. I'd love to talk to you.